Believe I am live now. See, I'm live on X. I'm live Twitch. This is Twitch recap just landed, and I crushed it. Although I haven't been on Twitch than last weeks or so. Not really sure how they say that. It's just simply not true. Could be free now too. There it is. You wonder how it looks. Out of this. Okay. I think everything should be working now. Twitch is not loading. There it is. Start. Anyway, I've been quite busy on X, especially over the weekend. I'm gonna throw in the case because um, I had nothing else to do this weekend. I'm probably not gonna be near as busy during um holiday season, but well, I was quite busy yesterday as well too. Um, yeah, I did see a good video. I did notice this one.
Blackberry, you're gonna let me record
I
in
hadn't
peace,
seen
right?
this one yet. I did
Right?
see another video. I'm gonna try to pull that up.
No, you're not. Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. It's gonna be hard to wipe this mark off my face this morning. Check this out. So there is this
Here.
company, LiveView Technologies, that was gonna put up these AI surveillance cameras in the park in Austin that we opposed. And on their website, they said they take a different approach to security because people behave differently when they know they're being watched. And
Yeah, they do act differently when they're being watched. And that I'd rather just not be watched. I just um if honestly if people are being watched and act differently, I just prefer to stay away from that area. I know there's literally is it store, the closest store to me has flock cameras nearby, and because of how I just hate it so much. I legit am like, what might be a little farther away, but I'm gonna go to a different store. That's literally how I feel about it, and you should probably try to do the same. If you can, that's one thing, but you should at least try to do something else. Especially since, yeah, it's like people do act differently, and in fact, I just go somewhere else. But I'm gonna try to find that video as well of what I was talking about in terms of another video I was looking. I saw it, I think yesterday. Yep, there it is. Vice is
The internet has given us access.
exactly right here. This is what I'm gonna watch next. I didn't watch it like at all, other than maybe a few seconds of it. I just wanted to make sure it was in my history. So, um, yeah, I saw this title and I was like, oh boy, not good. Anyways,
Today, we're going to start to
yeah,
figure
this
out if
one.
politicians behave
It's only
differently
six
when they know
minutes,
they're being
anyways.
watched, with a tool that makes it
Yeah,
easier for you to figure out when your local politicians are putting this garbage in your city. So, this is a site called alpr.watch. It has a map over here. And on the map, you're going to see everywhere where there is a confirmation of a city council meeting where they're installing license plate readers, automated license plate readers, flock AI powered surveillance cameras, and so on and so forth. Many people have been emailing me and
oh,
saying,
gotta
Lewis, what do
watch.
I do? And I'll say, try going to a city council hearing in your area. And they go, Lewis, how do I do that? And it's like, where do you live? Okay, go to this site. Lewis, what do I do there? And I can't.
Let's actually take a look at this real quick. Upcoming meetings. Bridgeville. License plate reader. Block. And license. 41,000. Um, it looks like, honestly, I just kind of want to live up here. I know they got some harsh winters though, so I really don't want to live up there. Kentucky and Georgia. I know someone in Georgia. How can you, um, how can I look? Is this like currently in service? I That's too large. I can't even see it. So I'm guessing those are in service. Oh wow, nothing in the entire world. But so is this October 2nd? Okay, so I'm assuming all these have already happened. Actually, take a look at one too. See, I'm not exactly sure what all this is about. So, huh? I don't know if all this has to do with exactly just that or not, but yes, that's it. If you live in Nashville, Tennessee, I guess. Oh, okay. So if you go in a little further, then you actually see. Okay, so what if we go up here? Are there flocking? Is this a good? This should be fine to see them. Oh, there's some flocks over here in Bismarck. But honestly, yeah, there's like nothing. Oh, there's two right here. I wonder if that's a hospital or store even, because I know they like to put them on stores. Nope, nope. It could be a license plate reader too. I don't know. Okay, that's kind of cool though. Wonder if they got it, or if it's literally just happened, or they're just tracking. Yeah, probably just tracking the US. That's actually kind of cool. Yeah, before verified. Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Wonder how many are down here in Florida. Wow. Wow. That is a bit absurd. Really? You know what's funny about that? Oh boy. Funny about that is I posted something right here. How even DeSantis was like talking about how big data centers for AI don't do anything for the locals, and yet, as you can see, he still really likes AI, especially in cameras. He loves AI in cameras. It looks like if you did, you live in like Sebring or something, you'd be fine. But the coast, oh Lord, look at the coast. Look at this coast. Um, wow. I actually went to spring break pretty much all the time, right down here, St. Augustine. In fact, I had spent a lot of time at Matanzas as well, because our condo we stayed in for the week, like not not I guess not technically here, but somewhere right here. Yeah, yeah. I spent a lot of time in these woods right here, not these, but then we'd come over here to the actual fort itself. But yeah, um, I actually never been over here, but kind of cool. I mean, it's really really sad to see that that you know, really sad to see that there's so many flock cameras though. Because when I was going, when when I had some time there, there was nobody who ever or no cameras just watching wherever you went. So it is kind of sad, but well. Anyways,
Can't have this conversation back and forth for the thousands of people that email me. It's impossible. So, what this site does is it tries to make it as easy as possible to get an alert when there's going to be a meeting in your area. So, the way this works is this website is scraping over 1,800 different municipal governments in the United States, and soon to be more as more people get involved.
I'm actually looking where I actually live right now, and yeah, there's a fuck ton. I know yeah. See, there's the store I was talking about. There are 4, um, and yep, when you go there, there are 4 of them. But, yeah, luckily there's none actually where I live down here, and, um, the store I go to as well now go to now also has nothing around it. Thank God. There's not an airport right there. I don't know what, but thank goodness not all the way over there. They are downtown city. They're just not wow, there's a lot more than I thought though on the highways as well. And the highway doesn't even because I know there's cameras on the highway itself, but it doesn't actually show it anywhere on here. Even though I guarantee you there is because I've seen it a lot. Huh. Interesting. But yeah. Okay. I just want to kind of see what
Involved in
I
this
missed
lovely
as
little open
well.
source project. It allows you to get email alerts for your area. You can put your email address into the site, and after you put your email address in, you can put the notification radius in miles. So do I want to be notified when there's a hearing within 5 miles of me, 20 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, and so on and so forth? And you will receive email notifications once there is a confirmation of one of these hearings. Now, the way this works, this is not all automated. There are moderators. So there are all these scrapers that are working to try and figure out whether or not there are different meetings and hearings, and we have to go through them manually to see if they actually apply. So, for instance, this one is a keyword for flock, and sometimes a keyword for flock is a keyword for flock, and sometimes keyword flock is flock of emotional support birds or something like that, which obviously we're not going to be mad at. So, this one is talking about a coverage of a backyard flock. So, obviously, I'm not going to waste your time on that. They took possession and said he will join their bachelor flock. He is talking about a farm and roosters, so obviously we're not going to do that. So there are human beings that are actually moderating this website and going through every single one of
That's good to
these
know.
city council and board
I
meetings
did
that are
see that though. You know, you see it's right down here. All future submissions are 100% moderated approved. So I did see that at least. So basically, all of these have something to do with flock. Now, I don't know if, say Helena. Oh, there's one here. But what's crazy is there's so much space without flock cameras. Like I really don't want to live in Wyoming, but I can see that there's practically no cameras in Wyoming other than but Cheyenne. But the rest of it, there's no at least flock cameras. I don't honestly mind being like in a store and they watch you. I mean, to be fair, I just went to a store, um, and there was not a single camera in there. Like not even a single one. So I might actually start going there. Um it's not as big, so it's not but it's not a small chain either. It's not a family owned place. So I'm just really surprised that they didn't have a single camera in there. I looked, right? Unless they're hiding their cameras, they don't have a single camera there. So it I really, really enjoyed being there because I did not feel like being watched because normally I just go into a store and then immediately leave. But this time I stayed in there for a little bit at least, right? So yeah, it was really, really nice. Um, Now I could go to Nevada, I guess. Could just live in Nevada. I mean, look at down here in Texas. Texas wouldn't be a bad shout. Although, as you can see, oh boy, as you can see, quite a lot of camera text. Oh wow, I'm sorry. What? Open. Not moving. Uh, wow, Houston. It's essentially just absolutely littered with them. Again, let me look at New York. Oh, oh, it's completely lagging this out. Let me go up to New York though. No, that's not as many as I thought. Yeah, it's not as many as I thought. You're still being watched literally everywhere you go though. But here's bad. Ooh, Moscow. Anyways, if you really want to go somewhere where that's not gonna, even in Rapid City, or let me see. Ah, yeah, yeah, it's probably for this, but for the most part, you don't have to. This is probably for low. So now, most of it might not be actual block camera, you know, but yeah, it's a bit, but you can definitely find places out, especially smaller towns and smaller states. You're probably not gonna worry too much about it. Um, but I mean, I understand kind of. Oh, it's lagging. Wow, there's so many right here. Yeah, everywhere you go, everywhere you go, completely tracked. I mean, I know someone who lives in San Francisco too. Come on, yeah, I couldn't believe that. You could not go anywhere in this big city without being watched. And thank God I don't. That's one of the big reasons I don't want to live in a large city. Of course, it's not the only reason I don't want to live in a large city. What about Chicago? Yeah, that sounds about right. Eisenhower Express. All right, yep. That's oh, you can even see the lake here, but that is a lot for Chicago. Makes sense. Anyways, that's not back over here.
Scraped. Once it is confirmed by a human being to be an actual meeting that goes over the installation of AI surveillance in your area, it is added to the map. And once it gets added to the map, if you are signed up, you will receive a notification. I'm hoping that your politicians behave differently when they are under surveillance. Instead of being only one person that shows up in opposition to these, what if 12 people showed up? What if 100 people showed up? What if 1,000 people showed up? We're hoping that if we make it as easy as possible, that you'll do the work. We've made it easy for you to put your government under surveillance.
The problem is a lot of people just don't care. Um, most people don't even know that these are not necessarily even an issue, but are going to be happening, right? They don't because I don't even honestly know where I'd go to find that information to get a meeting. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know where I'd find information to find or to see any of that. Um, I never have, and now I actually care about this. I mean, I bet I could find it easily, especially with this. Honestly, this is gonna make it a lot easier if I ever get something. If I ever have to um, get an alert from my area, like, oh yeah, well, now I know, and baby, I think I'd go to the courthouse. I have no idea. I have no idea where I'd have to go, but
Are you going to make
probably
them
find
behave
out.
differently? I hope so. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something.
The problem is, I already know that they're they have already put cameras,
Please
so
make use of the
they're
tool.
not gonna
There's a
stop.
chat room link down below for a Zulip, for the Clippies Zulip, where we discuss all of these things. Please say thank you to Mr. Snoot in the Zulip, who was responsible for putting together this amazing freaking site. Snoot did put a good amount of effort, and I'm sure that he's spending money on SMTP Relay and everything else for the site to work. So if you are happy with what he did, there's a donate link in the upper right corner where you can donate via DonorBox, Square, Google,
I
Apple
see.
Pay, any of this type of stuff. And again, if you find the work valuable, I do suggest that you provide him a donation. I think that what he put together
I don't know what this being conversation. I'm guessing that's just your login, but is oh, so Zulip is essentially Discord for other people. Okay. This
is
is
pretty picky. Humans, questions, and responses when discussing flock. The page that goes over suggests that you provide him a donation. So if you suggest that you provide him a donation, I think that what he put together is pretty fucking awesome. And
it is
we would
awesome.
like
Yeah.
to build this website into something that not only shows you the city council hearings, but I'd also like to have a page that goes over some of the common arguments that will work. There's this page that I have on the Consumer Rights Wiki that is really doesn't really belong on the Consumer Rights Wiki and should probably be on a dedicated site to this flock camera stuff. Over here, where I go over common arguments, questions, and
Yeah, he
responses when
did do this
discussing flock
once.
surveillance. So I'd like to get something like this put on the site that people can contribute to and just have it off of the Consumer Rights Wiki where it's a little bit out of place. This site is
Well, I
access
guess
to
we will
more
get.
information than ever before.
But yeah, definitely check this website out. See where I'm moving up here. Although I don't want any, so I might have to come down here more. Ah, never mind. A ton in here too. If you live here, there's not a single one here at all. This does not look small. Wickenburg. Oh, it is very small. Never mind. It has kind of two, but really just one airport. But it has an entire airport. Is this the right place? Arizona? Yeah. Wickenburg, Arizona. Only has 8,000 people apparently. That doesn't seem right. There seems way more. Let's get this
So
one
why does it feel like it's making us stupider? Well, while the
because
internet's
it is.
impact on cognition is incredibly complex and not universally negative, I do think there are a number of things that the internet incentivizes which make it harder to think clearly and critically about the world around us. And this is just what I want to discuss today. Before we get started, I just want to say that necessarily a lot of this is going to be speculative. So just consider this my opinion rather than some kind of definitive conclusion. My name is Joe Foley, and this is Unsolicited Advice. 1. The fruit of anger. One of the great psychological discoveries of
I've never actually watched this guy like at all, but if he puts out a banger, I will start watching. See,
the past 200 years or so is just how much our emotions and
definitely watch this
affects
one next.
affects the way that we behave, interpret, and even just perceive the world around us. And in itself, this is not a bad thing at all. Indeed, if you believe many thinkers, including Friedrich Nietzsche, without this affectual component to our thinking, we would basically be unable to act or direct our attention at all. However, one of the marked negative effects of the internet on our thinking is that all of the incentives that are sort of controlling what is produced on the internet are aligned to keep us in certain heightened emotional states. And those heightened emotional states certainly can affect our ability to think clearly. The reason this happens is pretty straightforward, and I'm sure that you've heard the same story elsewhere. The metric for success on the internet, whether it's measured at the level of post or idea or person, is the amount of attention that that online thing gets. On YouTube, this is measured in the amount of time that someone spends watching a video, but elsewhere it might just be measured
I get 0.
in clicks or views or whether someone purchases a particular product. But the precondition to any and all of these outcomes is grabbing and holding your attention. And the best way to grab and hold someone's attention is to let their deep, powerful animal instincts know that it is important to one of their core needs. In other words, the best way to get someone's attention is to hit them with as strong an emotional state as possible. The classic candidates for this emotional state are anger and fear, with the overall more effective and profitable one of these being anger. Both of these, in one way or another, let you know that you are learning about a threat, at which point it is incredibly difficult to turn yourself away from said threat. And again, in itself, this is actually a great thing to have ingrained within us. Imagine if we'd been prone to mind wandering when we spotted a saber-toothed tiger in the bushes. However, these are not emotions that are well suited to constantly be in our current information environment. The algorithmically driven internet, in a lot of ways, looks to our animal brain, for want of a better word, like a huge array of saber-toothed tigers all vying for our attention. And since whatever attention you give to one source is attention not given to another, everyone is incentivized to create the biggest, scariest looking tiger on the savannah or wherever saber-toothed tigers lived. Because if they don't do this, then they'll probably just be
Okay.
outcompeted by more attention-grabbing content. And
But
remember that
yeah,
almost everything you see on a platform like YouTube is algorithmically based on how other people have reacted to it.
that's probably why I'll almost never need traction. I don't. I'm never gonna put that kind of effort in. I I have much other better things to do. I just kind of wanted to do it so I could at least be heard by maybe a person or two. And at least show that they're not alone thinking this.
If they gave it their attention, then
Thinking
the
that
platform is
everything
likely
is
to then
fucked.
deliver it up to you. And if they didn't, then the platform won't. So even if you personally are
That's why I haven't uploaded anything on YouTube. I get like maybe 1 or 2 views. Let me actually look find it interesting. See the analytics. Let's see here. I have 0 subscribers, 4 views, 0.0 watch time hours. But yeah, um, 2 seconds was the average view duration. So that's about that's about how much traction I get. Zero out of for anyone. That was like 5 days ago. Of course, I just started this, but I'm not gonna be, you know, paying any money to um, I'm not gonna pay any money to actually advertise this channel or anything. And I don't care. I don't care that much. No.
Are a blissed out Zen monk and aren't swayed by emotionally driven factors when you're watching or deciding what content to consume on the internet, you will still often find that the choices that are presented to you are still limited to the most emotionally laden content out there because that has survived the kind of algorithmic selection effect. And when it comes to grabbing attention, anger really does work. Anger makes things more
Yes, it
clickable and
does.
more shareable. One study found that anger was even more effective than other seemingly motivational emotions like anxiety
That's
at
why.
getting
Oh,
people
that's why rage bait is such a huge thing. Yeah, that's why a lot of people you'll see on X are doing that just for the click. I don't even know how this happened, by the way. 167 impressions. But then, of course, you'll go down here. It's like 92 unique viewers, but only 11% watched in 22 seconds, 5%, and then all the way 2%. I don't know who's watching at all, but maybe you go here and it's like 6 seconds, 67%. I mean, that's cool, but that's two of the three people watched to here. What about this one? Yeah, nobody watched it for 30 seconds. Oh, what about this one? Yeah, nobody watched it for 30 seconds. I'm assuming they just took this video as well or downloaded it or something. But this one, oh, that's six. Wait,
The poison of and separately
that add another view or something.
take action against another poison.
Does
Also take action against another.
only well, that's well, check this out. Wholesome alive. There's nobody. I'm looking at all three right now. There's nobody. Oh, actually, there's one person watching YouTube. See that, but nobody watching Twitch. There's nobody watching X. So,
to share information. And as the authors of that study put it, even small effects may carry significant social implications in practice, especially for public health interventions, educational programs, and the persuasion effects of media exposure. In other words, small differences add up. And even if soliciting anger only gets you a small advantage compared with some other emotional states and some other content creators, at scale that can translate into anger taking up an outsized significance in shaping the total set of content that we see, read, and process online. So not only do we end up with a skewed, anger driven perception of the world that is shaped by this hostile interpretation of it, but anger itself interferes with our ability to think clearly. But of course, one area the internet has made much more difficult to navigate is the newsfeed, which is why I
oh,
recommend today's sponsor, Trust. I think that we often appreciate just how much anger can mess with our ability to think. Just phenomenologically, we know how much being angry or scared or upset can cause our judgments to go astray. But this is backed up by empirical evidence as well. One key finding is that anger in particular diminishes our ability to take on other people's perspectives. As one paper by Yin
oh
and
yeah. That's definitely one of the reasons why the United States is just completely not together like at all. They are completely fractured um on two sides, which I've already been over this. Like politics are not two sided. You know, there's not one side and the other. There's tons of different opinions, but today's society, nobody gives a fuck, and they're on one side or the other. They can't have their own thoughts, or they'll be called a Nazi from the left or a traitor from the right. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it's impossible to get anyone to agree on anything. And I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Let's get on. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say it, but I just did. Um, but I'm not just saying the left is the only violent ones, but I am saying they have been the only violent ones as of late. Um, the right has been a little too God fearing, in my opinion. But yeah, yeah, the left is absolutely lunatics. Um, Donald Trump said it best. Left are lunatics, but the radical left. And oh yeah, do you see? I mean, he even called Rob Reiner. He was talking shit about Rob Reiner, even though apparently he got killed by his son, got murdered. I don't care if you're. I even posted it down here, right here. So I haven't posted this right. Trump is blaming TDS and stuff like that, but it's like that is exactly what people got mad of. People from the right got mad about when Charlie Kirk got assassinated. Everyone on the left, they were like, "Oh yeah, we don't care. We are celebrating his death." Um, but they're completely fine with Trump saying this. It doesn't make sense to me. Um, it's it's insane that the right won't, because I heard a lot of people saying when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, like, I'll be the first to call out when the right is doing stuff like this. But I haven't heard them say anything about this. You know what I'm saying? I haven't heard them say a single thing about Trump essentially saying it was fine, and he's kind of happy that he died. Nobody's calling that out. So, well, maybe other thing, maybe Gavin Newsom and stuff, but Gavin Newsom is, you know, that. So he he will always call it out, and he's on the left, so of course he will. But I don't see many people from the right who said they'd call it out the first time they see it. Haven't seen it, so yeah, it's just a bit insane to me. The hypocrisy of it. So yeah, I got 2 followers. I wonder if there's another graphic designer. Let's see. So there's one. Yep. Okay. There's two. Yep. Three. One. Two. Definitely. I'm just gonna make sure though. Kind of. Yes. Definitely. I'm not a VTuber, so I will never pay for one of those. See Melissa though. I don't think Melissa is. She's not. I can't say she though. I'll be canceled because I have so many tractors here. I think that's one. You see. pursue. Okay, that's another person. I have no idea what this is, but they're following a ton of random people. So, uh, out of 10 people following me, 8 are graphic designers, or they're trying to do something. So I really only have 2 people, and only one who actually cares, I guess. Um, so yeah, that's really funny. Um, that's about as much traction as I have it right now. It's only been a week, but and I'm not trying to, other than posting on X or whatever. I'm not trying to do too much, right? And in fact, this is the only social media that I have where I have more followers and following. So honestly, it's a win in my opinion, right? Right? Like I'm the shit now, right? I got more followers than I'm following, right? That's how popular I am. I had to follow people though, so I don't even do anything with him. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Don't care. Bam. Now what? Now what? Right? I'm really good. Anyways,
And Schweitzer put it, across our studies, with different inductions of emotion and different measures of perspective taking, we establish that anger degrades perspective taking. This is probably a really good thing if we're dealing with genuine threats, right? You don't want to empathize with the saber-toothed tiger, but it's easy to see how it could
well, if not friend shape, then why friend shape? You know what I'm saying? Or if not friend, then why friend shape? Feel? I think saber-tooth tigers would be kind of nice.
impair our critical thinking skills. Almost by definition, critical thinking does involve stepping outside your own particular perspective and pre existing opinions, and at least attempting to take up the position of another person so that you can somewhat separate yourself from your pre existing biases. This doesn't mean that you'll end up agreeing with the perspective that you're temporarily taking, but without this ability, we will almost certainly just miss the mistakes in our own thinking and fail to critique our own perspectives. Unless we can answer this crucial question, how could an otherwise sensible, sound, and intelligent person come to disagree with me about this issue? I don't think we can really call what we're doing thinking critically. And anger disrupts this process in significant ways. Yin and Schweitzer point out that we already know that failures in
It's
perspective
Pfizer.
taking often cause heightened angry states and increased conflicts. So there is a danger that this becomes a downward spiral, and that increased anger decreases our perspective taking, and that lack of perspective taking in turn leads us to be, at least temporarily, much more dogmatic, and so likely to start conflicts with others, making them angry as well. And I'm sure that you've seen this play out online. It doesn't help that because anger and other motivating negative emotions get people to click on a piece of content, this encourages anyone looking to produce anything online to promote negativity wherever they can. Like, one of the hallmarks
That's why Jolly Smiley was so big, I guess. That's why San is maybe popular as well. Maybe he's not really that popular, but it's might be one of the reasons why he's watched as much as he is, because a lot of people are mad about him or whatever. Um, for good reason, obviously. You know, he shocks the dog. He's literally a terrorist laser. But so there is good precedent to why he's hated, of course, but you know, that just gives him a larger following because people are gonna be watching him just for the slip ups, right? And that's exactly what happens. You see it all the time. So that is something. But then you got his absolutely unhinged what following his face, and it's like they're not doing anything. or they're not mad at him, but they're still following him. So not all just getting mad about it. But yeah.
Of YouTube is the response video, where someone reacts, normally pretty negatively, to what someone else has put out there. And like many of the things that we'll talk about in this video, this too is not an inherently bad thing. Criticism is good, but the incentive is to find something negative so that we can make something more clickable. And this encourages us to strawman the people that we're responding to. It's one of the reasons why I have made so few response videos on this channel. In fact, I have the first one in a long time coming up, and I've done something that I really hope to make mainstream, which is send the script to the person that I'm critiquing so that I can get feedback and ensure that I'm not misrepresenting them. This is pretty standard practice.
Yeah, it might have been standard practice before, but it's definitely not now. Nobody gives a fuck. They don't do their research, and they put misinformation out on purpose. Again, like just to get people angry to click on it and say, "Oh yeah, well this is not true" or something. But the problem is they don't care, and it doesn't matter what they say because people will always come to them, or more people will subscribe to them because the opinion or what hit the post blows up, right? So they don't care.
This in academic circles, and I just really hope that I can promote it on YouTube because I think it is just really
Oh
good
yeah,
practice.
well, I guess that's also a thing. You know, he said it's standard practice in academic circles. Well, X and YouTube and I guess really any social media, it's not at all academic. Um, everybody's stupid, right? They don't care about what's right or wrong. So they just want to see people, I guess, rankless harm basically is the new meta, if you will. That's why Jack Doherty got so popular. But you know, at the same time, it's like he got so popular, but he just got arrested, and everyone celebrated that. So,
But
but then
that's
he
more of an
made
aside.
shirts or
The
something.
point
That's
is
insane.
that having a series of incentives that's prod us into strawmanning people and interpreting them as uncharitably as possible is an absolute disaster for the quality of our thinking. It means that we will miss out on potentially good or great ideas because they're spun to us in the wrong way, and we will train ourselves out of what is normally considered one of the key epistemic virtues, the willingness to engage those we disagree with in absolute good faith. Now, it's important for
Yeah,
us
that
not to
definitely
get
doesn't happen
too
anymore.
dogmatic ourselves here. This is not to say that emotional states themselves are somehow antithetical to thinking. One of the key findings of the neuroscientist Antonio Damasio is that emotions actually do play a key role in our thinking. And if
Yeah,
you were to be totally
and of course, you know, it affects women the most. Obviously, of course, obviously. I mean, women. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of a joke, but still, it is. It does have some truth to it, right? You can't tell me if you have a girlfriend or wife that she doesn't think more with her emotions.
stripped of emotion, that would paralyze your cognitive and decision making capacities. The old binary where we just have thinking on the one hand and feeling on the other does seem to me to be pretty untenable. However, to be constantly angry and scared is just not healthy for critical thinking, and the incentive structures of the internet make it almost inevitable that we will be in those emotional states more often, especially when we are consuming algorithmically driven content, as we so often are online. Also, bear in mind this point about anger, because later in the video we're going to discuss how the internet disrupts our ability to have productive conversations, and the default emotional state for
I mean, the actually I forget what I was gonna say. I ain't gonna lie, but I do think nobody has a rational discussion anymore. It just doesn't happen.
want of a better word, of the internet being angrier than in the
Trust
offline
me,
world is
George
going to be a
Plum, you will definitely be the first, and probably first. I think honestly, you're the first comment the channel's ever gotten. So
really key part of that.
there's
Another
that.
thing that heightened anger does is increase our stress levels, which is also known to interfere with our cognitive ability if it becomes chronic, especially with regards to memory and attention span. However, as far as I can
Oh,
tell, at least
yeah, no, nobody has attention span anymore. That's kind of been a thing for like what since 2018 when TikTok joined. 2016. Ooh, terrible. That's bad. Good. Bad. The digital circuits. With 7.
the size and nature of the effect depends pretty heavily on the context of the
I
stress.
don't know what that means.
Nonetheless, this leads us nicely onto our next point. 2. A short form attitude.
Ooh,
I've mentioned before the disastrous philosophical consequences of a shortened attention span, but I definitely think it bears briefly repeating here. A healthy attention span and healthy ability to focus is absolutely vital for clear thinking. We need it to learn, we need it for memory, we need it just to sustain the
I mean that's kind of why everyone's getting a lot more stupid. Well, um, you, I, I can't even think of just how bad the intelligence. Goddamn this dude. He's, anyways, he's blowing my phone up. My bad, but it's like absolutely insane just how kind of in the gutter the IQ is gone. I'm so glad I graduated high school right before TikTok was a big thing. 'Cause I still don't even have a TikTok. In fact, if I go onto my shit, if I go to my phone right now, pull up the App Store, look up TikTok, I'll still have that whatever it's called. Get. I'll still have the get and not the cloud emoji. You download it. I've never at all ever had TikTok, and I'm so glad I haven't. I haven't seen nothing good come from TikTok. I've never seen anything ever good from TikTok. So
process of thinking and reflection. There's just very little good thinking that can be achieved without some kind of steady attention given for a medium to long period of time. You can test this yourself. Try to read a book, but set an alarm to go off every minute. Do a totally unrelated task for that minute, and then go back to reading. I've done this myself, and I found my
yeah, no,
thinking quickly
it's
became
impossible.
fragmented, unproductive, and just borderline pointless. I would have to reread the same paragraph over and
Oh
over
yeah,
again. I would barely retain anything that went in, and maybe worst of all, it just made the process of reading much less enjoyable. I think we often skim over this.
you literally cannot do anything like that. Because not necessarily on purpose done that, but I've accidentally, was getting was being talked to while I was trying to read a book or something for school, and I couldn't do it at all. So there's no way.
Ability of focus to make a difficult task or difficult learning compelling and, at best, happiness inducing. We all know that distraction means that you get less done or learn less, and yeah, it does mean that you think less clearly, but it also crucially makes tasks less compelling and rewarding. I think we recognize this at some level because there are countless videos on YouTube that promise things like they'll make studying as fun as scrolling by retraining your focus. It's a key part of the findings of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi that focusing on challenging, meaningful tasks for long periods allows us to enter a flow state. Again, people mainly emphasize that a flow state is really productive, it's really helpful for getting things done. But I think that's kind of tangential to the main.
When I've I do a little bit of coding, right? I I'm making a website for a friend, right? And there was a couple nights actually I'd literally go hours. I mean like 6, 7 hours just straight, just working on the website, trying to build it up. Most of it was the front end stuff, what you could actually see, CSS kind of stuff, HTML even. Because I wrote it through Python, right? Flask, if you ever used it, but I I know I used it, right? And yeah, no, so for like 7 hours or even 8 all night, and I had no problem just working on that all night. I just put on some music and just grinded that out all night. Barely even took a break. I don't even think I did, if I'm gonna be honest. And yeah, I mean, it's insane what you can do once you're in the zone.
Point of them, at least for me, which is that flow states make life much more enjoyable and fulfilling.
Yeah, I was having a lot of fun doing it too. To the point where when it became right out, I actually had to go do something. I was devastated. I was genuinely devastated and sad that I couldn't continue doing it because I was actually having a lot of fun doing it. Um, yeah, yeah.
And a huge number of great thinkers and writers became great thinkers and writers because they found these activities compelling and fulfilling. And maybe they didn't always find them pleasant in a kind of straightforward, down to earth sense, but they seemed to find them meaningful and motivating, and focus seemed to be a big part of that. I think of the example of the Austrian logician and philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. While he was famously quite an agitated thinker, and it feels somewhat hasty to say that thinking made him happy, he did undeniably find it really compelling, and this was something that stuck with him throughout his life. When he was a young man, he once said to Bertrand Russell that one of the only things he found worthwhile was the prospect that he might write great works and the process of engaging with great works. For Russell's part, he sometimes said that engaging with mathematics was the only thing that staved off severe depression for him. One of my favourite thinkers, Frank Ramsey, evidently took immense pleasure in his thinking, devouring economics, maths, and philosophy in huge
Not
volumes
even
in
gonna
his
lie, I have
free
no
time.
idea who's he
This
talking
was
to
clearly
or
one of the
talking
most
about. So,
enjoyable and compelling parts of his life. I realize this is, of course, a very limited sample size, but it also holds true
'cause I don't read at all.
for almost every great thinker I've looked at. Their ability to sustain focus over long periods of time and thus find their work extremely compelling was both integral to how they managed to think such incredible things, but also to how enrapturing and potentially enjoyable they found thinking itself. I know it's kind of a basic point, but it's worth emphasizing and re emphasizing that focus and attention is so fundamental that it almost doesn't feel right to treat it merely as one cognitive skill amongst others. In many ways, it is kind of the cognitive skill upon which so many other cognitive skills rest. It doesn't matter how airtight you are as a logical thinker if you can't pay attention for long enough to process an argument properly. It doesn't matter if you're incredibly creative in theory if you can't sustain that creativity for long enough for it to blossom into something. And this makes the effect that the internet has had on our focus all the
Really
more
bad.
worrying. Before I talk
Yeah.
about that, I do want to preempt a tempting but far too simplified conclusion that the internet alone has robbed us of our focus and everything would be great if we just abandoned the internet.
I don't think that's true because it's more so the society perpetuating it. because people don't want to. They just don't want to watch longer form videos. Now, of course, like what this video is 40 minutes, yeah, almost 50 minutes, right? And there's 180,000 people watching it. But then you'll get to TikTok and there's like 10 million views on some stupid challenge or whatever. So more people are just not wanting to watch this. They're not going to watch 50 minutes. Uh, I don't get bored easily, but I do get bored. Because I can, if I really wanted to, I could just watch some YouTube, right? Not necessarily the shorts, but just like my favorite content creators. But if I really, really wanted to, I just go play with my dog outside, right? Like there's many things you can do that is not on the internet and on scrolling TikTok and shit. You could, play a board game or something. Maybe you don't have a friend to do it with you. Or potentially you can use your phone, but there's other things to do. There are other things to do. Especially since unless you work in a blue collar or a white collar job, a lot of jobs don't actually let you do anything on your phone. So at least at work you won't be. And I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing because it is terrible, honestly, that you can't even be on your phone at all. But I worked one of those jobs before. I hated every second of it because mainly because they watched you all the time. I've already talked about this, I think, but they would literally have cameras at every place you would ever go, right? Just to be able to watch you. And if you got into a blind spot the next day, they'd be like, "So what were you doing? Where were you?" You know what I'm saying? Um, so they were always constantly monitoring, no matter what you were doing. And the worst part is, a lot of other people had their phones and things, but since they weren't as against it as I was, they didn't get in trouble like ever. Right. I was against it all the time and made a blind spot purposely a lot, honestly. And that kind of put the focus on me, I guess, more to be like, why are you making a blind spot there? Why don't you want us watching you? It's like, do you hear yourself right now? Why don't I want you watching me? I think there's a good reason for that. Because I don't want to be watched. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
As I argued in my longer video on focus, our declining focus and attention span is almost certainly the result of a huge range of factors, including changing diets, loss of sleep, increased levels of chronic stress, general mental health issues, and yes, the internet has also contributed to our declining focus, probably in quite a major way. I want to single out the internet here, partly because it's sort of the topic of the video, but also because it has incentivized the production and consumption of incredibly brief and short form content over longer form, and thus, I sort of think is slowly pushing the default mode of idea production to be shorter and briefer, as well as encouraging us to engage with ideas in shorter and briefer ways. When I said short form content there, most people would immediately leap to something like
TikTok?
TikTok
Yep.
or
I knew it.
YouTube Shorts, and that's a significant part of it. There's a
You got
reason why I haven't
Instagram
made YouTube
Reels.
Shorts in over a year. But it's not the only part. One of my favorite time sinks and places to spend my time is Substack. Please subscribe to my Substack. And on Substack, you can read articles and blog posts written by various
Well, I
people
guess that is a
online,
good thing.
including yours truly. But one thing you'll immediately notice is that
They're
most
short.
articles which perform pretty well are under 2,000 words or just over 2,000 words. This is not inherently a bad thing. It's a lot longer than quite a lot of ways of consuming information on the internet, but it's pretty brief as far as essays go. This is obviously much better than
That is
Shorts
true.
or TikTok, but it's still an example of relatively short content being prioritized.
I mean, it's reading. I don't care to read. I really just don't care to read that much. And if I have to read 2,000 words compared to 16,000, I'd rather read the 2,000 because I just don't like to read. I'd rather be doing something else. I mean, there are some times, honestly, where I'd rather read it, and I have read. If it's good enough, I will legit read as long as I need to. But I'd rather listen to it, right? You know what I'm saying? Not like listen to it like it's an audiobook, but like listen to it as a rendition of somebody else. You know what I'm saying? S- You know, summarizing it, their synopsis of it, if you will. Because I don't want to think like that, man. Not every day, at least.
Prioritized over
Just
longer
because
form.
people are lazy.
But much worse than any individual instance of short form content is what I am just going to hesitantly dub the short form attitude. This is the expectation from a user that things, including difficult ideas, are to be consumed incredibly quickly. That is, the idea that things are not worth dwelling on or digesting or pausing to think about. It's less the mere existence of platforms like TikTok that I'm worried about, and more the mindset it encourages if it becomes our dominant mode of communicating. Because it carries, I think, the implicit message that ideas in general are to just be skimmed over without much consideration or thought. Short form content is so much easier to produce than long form content, so more of it is produced. And it's also easier to consume, so more of it is consumed. And
That
I
is
worry
true.
that this all
Yes.
encourages us to take our TikTok and short form trained approaches into things like our reading and our thinking. I don't have anything against short, brief ways of presenting things in principle. It's more that if it becomes the main or dominant mode with which we present and communicate and consume and understand ideas, I just sort of worry that that will then be locked in. That will be the frame through which we then view information. And that, I think, is incredibly worrying because almost all of the valuable things worth talking about can't be communicated in short form. They can't even be communicated in, like, the kind of length of videos that I make, which is like 30 to 40 minutes most of the time. They really can only be communicated in large books and with the help of sustained focus and a kind of conversation between you and the author, and if possible, a conversation between you and other people who are also engaged with those ideas. For the record, we'll be coming on to conversation later, and this kind of impromptu rant is unscripted, so I apologize if it seems a little bit out of focus, but I did think that's important to clarify. I don't have an issue with TikTok or YouTube Shorts in particular. It's more that, like any technology, they come with a particular way of viewing the world embedded within them. And while I think the way of viewing the world that is inherent in a TikTok is fine for TikTok, I think that it's disastrous if it becomes the mode with which we approach the world.
But
So,
that is
anyway, rant over. I'll get
that's
back to the
why it's
script.
so
I think
disastrous.
this valorization of brevity is clear even outside of just short form video content. One of the internet's most lauded achievements is the witty quip or the witty put down. Oftentimes, this will be done with a retweet and a sardonic, ironic reply like, "This isn't a good look," or some variation on a potent and rather irritating mix of condescension, arrogance, and insult. These are much easier to consume than long, detailed, good faith rebuttals, and are consequently much more likely to reach viral status. I'm not saying that there doesn't exist good long form writing online. There is plenty of it about, and the internet has been a great thing for sharing long form written media as well. But I'm simply suggesting that the general incentives are pointing in the other direction. If you are reading long, detailed writing on the internet, that's fantastic, and I highly encourage you to do so, but you're swimming against the tide. And our next point is closely related to this short form attitude. In fact, I think they both feed into one another an awful lot. 3. A hyper-stimulated world. In his book, The Age of Addiction, David Courtwright argues that more and more of our economy has
His
become
button got
structured
unbuttoned.
around addiction and compulsion, a phenomenon that he refers to
I
as
paid attention
limbic
enough to know that.
capitalism, after that lovely limbic system that we met earlier. He covers a huge range of topics like food, gambling, and straightforward alcohol, but he also devotes a number of pages to the addictive nature of the internet. As he puts it, whether it was forbidden content that drew users to the internet and social media platforms, or mini hits of stress relieving information, or both, critics began to detect ill effects of heavy use. With the exception of trauma caused by distracted driving and walking.
I did just have something come up though, so I have to end the stream. Unfortunate. I probably, but it's unfortunate, but true. I need to leave. I'll be back on another time.